Welcome, everyone. Come on in, everyone. Come on in to Married at First Sight, Season 16, Episode 7. And my name is Deborah, and I'm going to be doing individual recaps on all the individual couples. Plus, I'm going to do a recap on the after party. Those of you who like to watch the whole thing straight for an hour or so, you can watch the whole thing. But let's go ahead and get right into it, y'all. This is the after party for episode 7, y'all. And on this after party, we had Jasmin, Nicole, and we had Stasha Karcher. Let it be known, she kept her last name of Karcher, her maiden name. Y'all remember on this show, Stasha was talking about she didn't care if she got married, if she did get divorced, she was going to keep Barnes because she has no connection to Starcher. Or what? She lied. She went back to Karcher. She sure did keep that Karcher last name. So all that was a lie too. And then we find out that Stasha says she's looking for her daddy. I guess she wants to go deep and find where he is. Good for you, Stasha. She says she's thinking about writing a book and open up a sex toy line. Girl. Okay, Stasha, Miss Entrepreneur. But you know, Keisha went right in and said, oh, I heard y'all got a divorce. You and they got a divorce. What you get a divorce over? And she said right away, because of lack of maturity. I'm going to tell you right now, you ever sit across from a person who's divorced and you're dating them and you ask them why you get a divorce, and all they have to do is say what the other person was or wasn't, or run the other way. Run the other way, because that means that they've done a no self-reflection. And here you have a Stasha who's done no self-reflection. She comes on the show and she says because of lack of maturity, and it wasn't on her part, it was on his part, because he couldn't commit to having kids in 2 years. That's not lack of maturity because you haven't decided if you want to have kids in 2 years. That's not lack of maturity. That just means I don't want to do what you want to do. Stasha's done no growth. None whatsoever. None whatsoever. Like I said, if you're ever sitting across a person on a date and you ask, hey, why did you guys get a divorce? And all they do is say what was wrong or what the other person does, or if that's the first thing out their mouth, get up, pay the tab, walk the other way, go the other way. I'm telling you, you'll save yourself a lot of trouble. That means that they've done no reflection and no growth. So then Keisha asked Stasha, so what you going to do? Freeze your eggs? Because we know she about 38 now, right? 38 or 39. She says, I'm in the process of it. So wait a minute. You in the process of freezing your eggs? Well, why didn't you just do that when you was married? Why didn't you just do that in your marriage? So you was in a marriage, you were already married, you had a man who said that he loved you, but necessarily didn't want to commit to having kids in 2 years. I knew he didn't. He didn't want a whole lot of pressure, because I guess she changed it to 2 years, because when the show was on, she wanted the kid right away in 6 months to a year. She must have tried to push it back to 2 years, and he kept saying, hey, just stop pushing me. And she said, I don't want to wait on you. I don't want to wait on you because I don't want to be in no marriage in which I don't know if you're going to want to have kids. Well, that's not what he ever said, because he definitely wants to have kids, but he wasn't going to commit to 2 years, and she didn't like it, which means she wasn't in control of the relationship and she didn't like it, so she bounced. That's what she's saying. She's saying, I want to be in control of the timeline to have the babies, and because I wasn't in control of the timeline, I bounced, and therefore you're immature because you couldn't commit. That's not immaturity, because I don't want to do what you want to do. Stasha is that type of person. You ever going down the road driving your car, and there's a car behind you and they are tailgating you and on your tail because they feel like you're not going fast enough. Okay. And you look ahead and say, well, why do I need to go faster when there's a red light right up ahead? But this car is on your tailgating you like they're going to run into the back of you. And then they get all mad at you and they speed around you and they get in front of you only to stop at the red light. That happens all the time in LA because there's a red light every 2 blocks. And that is Stasha. Nate was moving too slow in the car. She was tailgating him. He wouldn't go faster. She's honking. She's flipping him off. She's doing all these things. She speeds around him, gets in front, only to speed around and stop at the red light, freezing her eggs with no husband. So you left a whole marriage to be freezing your eggs and now looking for a whole new man. Girl, you could have just stayed in the marriage and worked through your issues. You ain't in no better position. Anyway, y'all, this after party is not supposed to be about her. So let me get on to it. The real juicy part of this after party was the fact that this is where we learned that Jasmin knows the woman that Airris slept with or was sleeping with 2 weeks before the marriage. And we find out it wasn't a one-night stand. He was actually dating this woman, because Jasmin tells us the story that they were exchanging IGs and everything and looking at each other's IGs and realizing friends they had in common, and they had a couple of people in common. And Jasmin runs across this woman and says, "Oh, I know her. How do you know her?" And Airris says, "Oh my goodness, I slept with her a couple of weeks before we got married." So he was honest. He was honest about his emotionless sex. Y'all gotta watch my video on Airris and Jasmin. I dig into him deeply on this. So he admits he's not lying to her. He says, "She was the girl I was dating when I found out I was going to be on this show, because you know what? I'm addicted to emotionless sex. I'm addicted to emotionless relationships, and I was having an emotionless relationship with her. And the reason why you know it was emotionless, because as soon as he got called for Married at First Sight, he dropped her." That's why you know it was emotionless, and it was just sex. It's what he does, is what he does well. So Jasmin, of course, was upset about it. She said she stormed out the room. She didn't talk to him for a couple of hours. And now we know when Airris went sour. All of this happened before he was giving Airris all of this happened before he was giving Jasmin a 4s and 4.5s. I told y'all that his problem with Jasmin had nothing to do with the size of her booty. I told you that. I told you that he was attracted to her, but something happened. And I'm telling you, what happened was more things started getting revealed about Airris that Jasmin didn't like. And Airris started to feel self-conscious about it. The fact that he was 39 and never been in love. Now the fact that he was sleeping with a woman 2 weeks before she got married to him, and she knows the girl. He is not looking good in Jasmin's eyes, and he was feeling it, and he felt insecure about it. Watch my video. I'm telling you, he is stuck at 4 years old, 11-year-old boy. He's emotionally inept. And then you got Stasha over here chiming into "Oh, this sounds like me and Nate, a 39-year-old never been in love." Girl, it's not the same. It is not the same. She said, "Well, I wish I would have been like Jasmin and felt like, he could fall in love with me." I know, because you don't have the patience of Jasmin. You do not have the patience of Jasmin. In fact, Stasha and Nate's situation is better than Airris's and Jasmin's situation, to be honest with you. I think it's better because I watch my video. I think Airris is stuck in the past with his dead father that's been dead for 25 years. At least Nate's daddy was alive, and some of his emotional issues, he was willing to go to therapy and do some different things. I haven't heard Airris mention therapy once, and he definitely needs to go. And come to find out that just like when Jasmin said that she rated the relationship a 7 or an 8, and she looked like she was the only one that didn't know what was really going on. The secret was with everyone else, because everyone had already known that Airris had called her a 4 or 4.5 the day before. And Jasmin was like, "Yeah, he never said that to me in public. I know he didn't say it to you." She said, "Yeah, he never said that to me in private." Of course he never said it to you in private, because I'm telling you, Airris was on some get back. I told y'all that last week. He was on some get back, and that's why he said it in private to all those guys, because he already knew the dirt that Jasmin had on him. He already knew that Jasmin was going to possibly come with the never been in love for 39 years, and the fact that he slept with a girl he knows. Airris was already going to look bad in front of everybody else's eyes, and so he got her before she could get him in the public. But she actually never told his little dirty secret in public. She actually didn't tell everybody that, but he went ahead and called her a 4.5 so he could get her before she got him. Airris is an 11-year-old. He's talking about maybe he was protecting you when he didn't tell you that you was a 4, but told everyone else that you was a 4. And when Nicole said it right on, he wasn't protecting her. He was protecting himself. Exactly, Nicole. It had nothing to do with protecting Jasmin by not telling her that to her face, but telling everybody else in some other private conversation. No, that's not what he was doing. He was protecting himself, because like Airris always does, he looks out for himself. He protects his own emotional self, his own emotional cave, like he talks about in this week, talking about his man cave. His whole life is a man cave. He lives his whole life in a protective cave. Nicole said she was glad her husband called him out on talking about, can you fall in love with Jasmin? Because she said, normally I'm the one that says stuff like that. But I was happy he was able to call Airris out on that and bring it to the forefront. I think that made Nicole a little happy to see her man stand up like that. They told a little story that at the end of dinner, Dom and Mack were all cozied up and laughing and kikiing with each other. Then they frolicked on off and went back to the room or somewhere off. And they was wondering why they left because the dancing was so good. We don't know the whole story, but they're trying to speculate that maybe the two of them already consummated their marriage. There's no validation of that. We don't know if it's happened. This is probably one of the most sexless couples in Married at First Sight history. I don't think any of these couples had sex on the honeymoon, did they? Unless we find out later, did anybody have sex on the honeymoon? But Jasmin was fit to be tied with Airris. She said, I've been preparing my whole life to be a wife, and this man couldn't even set aside 4 months before the wedding to prepare to be a husband. Like Chris said, he says, I think Jasmin is ready to be a wife, but I don't think he's ready to be a husband. Let me tell you, Airris is in the man cave. I don't think Airris is a playboy. I told you guys that from the beginning. I don't think playboy is his thing. I'm telling you, I think he's just emotionally unavailable. He uses sex with women to not have to get emotionally attached. And just like that woman he was sleeping with before the wedding, it was all emotionless. And the minute the wedding came up and something he wanted, he dropped her and went over there. He is just a selfish a self-centered person, and it's all about protecting himself. They start talking about the scene between Nicole and Chris about crying over the dogs, and they're like, oh no, is this a whole another Jasmin and Alexis situation? No, it's not, because Nicole is not Alexis, and Nicole cares about other people, and Alexis cared about no one but herself. And so this is what happens when you bring two people together who are givers, and people know how to make equal sacrifice so that one person doesn't have to shoulder the entire burden. And that's what showed up between Chris and Nicole. Watch my video on them. I go into it much more in depth, but I thought it was a wonderful compromising solution. Sure, some people may say that Nicole maybe got the shorter end of the stick on this particular compromise, but it's okay because Chris is a giver and he gives to her in other ways and will make up for it. And in the end, she might have had to give up her dog for a few weeks, but she's going to get a long lasting marriage if they play their cards right. If they play their cards right, she might have had to make a small sacrifice for a lifetime of a happy marriage. And people need to start making those decisions and not about the immediate, the right now, and all about me. And then maybe they can also go on to have long, happy marriages. I'm hopeful for these two. I'm really hopeful because I see them both sacrificing for this marriage, and that's a good sign. And then they showed Dom and Mack with the scenes when he was going to the apartment and she was talking about his small place and how she's uncomfortable with him and everything, blah, 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 blah. It's all about a Dom. Like I said, watch my video on them too. But they said that she seemed a little bit judgmental. She did. She was judgmental, and that's what she does. I told people in my video, now I know what the old soul is with Dom now I know they were calling her old soul. Old soul is equal to an old nagging wife because that's who Dom is. It doesn't matter if some of the things she was saying was true about Mack. It doesn't matter that she was making good points. The problem is you're a nag about it because all you do is point out the negative, the negative, the negative, the negative, and that's nagging. It doesn't matter if some of it's the truth. People don't want to hear that from you all the time about everything or what's wrong with me and what I need to fix and what I need to do. And we haven't heard a one thing from Dom about what she needs to fix. Not one thing. What does she need to fix? Jasmin said that, her apartment with Airris is off to the side and everybody else's apartments are closer together. So I guess Nicole and Kirsten, they talk more often. And Jasmin said their apartment is off to the side like they're in no man's land. But you know what? Jasmin works at night. He works during the day. So there were probably going to be two ships passing in the night anyway. That actually ought to work out well for Airris because then he gets his alone time. It probably would have worked out. It probably could work out well for them. Their schedules are on opposite ends because he don't want to spend that much time with nobody except himself anyway. And it has nothing to do with her booty being small. It has nothing to do with a big booty. It's just who he is, a period. Because he's been with plenty of big booty women and he ain't stuck with none of them either. So this don't have nothing to do with no big booty. Stasha gave them some parting advice as the divorced woman to compromise, stay committed. What is she said? Communication and compromise. Girl, I'm not gonna get on Stasha. Like I told you, Stasha likes control. She is not willing to give up the control at all. And when I say control, the time, schedule, and everything. Okay, Sasha, thank you for the advice. We appreciate that. Now I want to talk about Jasmin and Airris, y'all. Woo! Didn't I tell you guys last week that Airris was on some get back from Jasmin? I told you guys that this whole thing about Airris not being so-called attracted to Jasmin physically because she doesn't have a big booty, I told you it was all a cover-up. It was a get back for how he was actually feeling in the relationship, and he's chosen this whole looks thing to hang on to that because he really doesn't want to say what the real problem is. I told you last week the Airris has some self-esteem problems, and when she went in on that "you 39, never been in love," that bothered him. And then we find out on this after party this week, which I'm going to talk about it on that video as well. We find out that Jasmin busted him on something else. And that is, remember when Airris said he slept with a woman right before he got married? Well, it turns out Jasmin knows who that girl is. Boom. There it is. I'm telling you, these couple of things, before Airris started giving her these fours, they had this whole discussion. And she found out all about this woman long before Airris started giving her fours. Like I told you, Airris didn't have a problem with Jasmin's looks. He only started having a problem with Jasmin's looks when he started looking bad in the eyes of Jasmin. And then next thing you know, it's a problem with her looks. I don't believe it. I don't believe it. It's all a cover up. One of the things I'm figuring out about Airris is stuck emotionally at 11 years old. How many times this week have we had to hear about this father of his that died at 11 years old? 11 years old, he's 39, which means for 28 years his father has been dead, died in Michigan. He's from the same place, what's his name? Mack is from, maybe not the same city, but I think he's from Detroit. His dad was from Detroit. And he said he used to go visit his dad when he was 11 years, when he was young. He would remember going and visit his dad. His dad died at 11, murdered. So first of all, his dad didn't even grow up in the house with him. And we hear about this dead father 5-6 times this episode. And I'm telling you, Airris is emotionally stunted at 11 years old, and this is why he has no emotional availability for anyone. This is why he has this non-emotional sex with women before he's about to get married. Hey, here's my last time to have some sex with a woman that I have no emotional bond with. Let me get in my last hit. It's almost like an alcoholic about to go in a treatment center, and they decide, let me get wasted one more last time. Airris is emotionally unavailable, and it's all wrapped around this daddy that somehow he's idolizing for the last 28 days. His daddy's like a martyr, and we don't even know what that man was like, considering he left his family and he was murdered. Who knows what he was into? Airris made a decision at a young age as a little boy. He may not even realize he made this decision, but he made a decision at a very young age. He was never going to love anybody. He said, "A love hurts, and I'm never going to love anyone." And he is still stuck with his dead father for 29 years. He wears the man around his shirt. He's got a picture of the obituary in the house. They go to the apartment. The apartment is named 313. It's after his dad in Detroit. He connects sneakers. He says it's because his dad did, and that's what made him want to collect sneakers. I mean, it's like this guy is trying to reincarnate and be his father all over again. And I don't know what his dad did. Maybe his dad was a person unemotionally available as well. Who knows what he did with women. And then he's repeating the same mistakes as his father, even though he didn't really grow up with his father. Airris needs therapy. I told you, I never really got player vibes from Airris. I never really got those vibes from him. I got a person who was self-centered, okay, which he is, because it's all about him or protecting his feelings, making him safe, because he doesn't develop any emotion or care for anyone else. Not at all. Not one other person does he probably care about unless that person is doing something for him. Period. Everything about Airris is either about that person doing something for him. That's it. That's all he cares about. He's selfish, but he's selfish because it's all about protecting himself. He's worried about protecting the little boy who's 11 years old, and he's emotionally stunted at 11-year-old boy, or maybe even younger. Yeah, I said it. Airris is like an 11-year-old. emotionally. When they had this little rating system going on at the table, and Jasmin gave him a 7.5, possibly maybe an 8. Girl, get out of here. And then he came back and said, hey, I'm going to give her a 7. No, he didn't. How are you going to give her a 7 when just a couple of days ago you gave her a 4? You lying, boy. And you weren't lying to protect her feelings, because when you gave her that 4, you didn't even have the courage to give it to her in front of her face. You gave it to that 4 and you gave her that 4 with the guys only. And the reason you gave her that 4, now I'm realizing even more, is because at this time, by now, all this other stuff has gone down. The 39 and never been in love. The fact that the woman that you slept with 2 weeks before getting married was a woman that Jasmin actually knew. So now you got that hanging over your head as well. This has nothing to do with the size of Jasmin's booty. Even Mack knew it was a lie. He was like, somebody lying up in here. And Mack knows a liar when he sees one, because like I told you, Mack in and of himself is also a liar. I'm telling you, liars know liars. But the problem is they lie for 2 different reasons. I'm going to get into Mack on the Mack video because he's a liar too. But Airris is a liar for a different reason, because Airris is emotionally unavailable and stunted 11-year-old, and all he cares about is protecting himself. All this, I gotta be alone, I gotta work out alone, I gotta run alone. I value my alone time. I know you do, because you can love on yourself in your alone time, and you don't have to worry about loving on anybody else. You don't have to care about opening up to anyone else. You don't have to care about caring about anyone else. Absolutely. You want some alone time. That's why you don't even like dogs, because you barely don't even want to care about no dogs either. Emotionally a stunted 11-year-old. Maybe that gives me a little bit of empathy for him, but kind of doesn't, because at 39 years old, he should have been into a therapist by now and tried to figure all of this out. He shouldn't be coming on Married at First Sight, hoping that a wife could solve all his problems, all his emotional trauma and damage that he has. He is not prepared emotionally and mentally. Not at all. He keeps trying to tell Jasmin, I think it's going to be okay. I think all we need is time. This was what Airris thought. Airris thought I could go get married and it will wipe away all this emotional trauma I have and just give me time that I know I can get there. No, you can't get there, and that's not Jasmin's job to do that for you, Airris. Go get some professional help and let somebody else help you through this, so that when you come into a relationship, you come into a relationship more whole than where you are. Everybody don't need to have everything sorted out before they get to marry. But this right here, this is a big one. This is a big one. He said, even though I got friends vibes for you, Jasmin, maybe that's a good thing, because normally, when I'm with girls, I don't even like them as a friend. I'm just having emotionless sex. So maybe this is a good thing. It's not a good thing, because like Jasmin said, I didn't get married to be nobody's friend. I heard that, Jasmin. Tell him. And Airris talking about, yeah, because everything else about you, I already know I like. I already know that if I'm in a car accident or I get, hurt or anything, you're going to be right there in the hospital with me, and you're going to be there wiping my ass. Feed me grapes, feed me lobster, massage my feet, wipe my ass, wipe my shitty ass. No, Airris, she is not here to be your bed maid. She's not here to be your housemaid. She's not here just to do things for you while you get to emotionally check out of a relationship. I want black art in the house. I want you to take your shoes off. I want the top drawer. I want the left drawer. Even when you think he's about to do something for her and give her the closet, the side of the closet that has 2 racks, you find out, no, not really, because the side he picked it because he wants to put all his shoe collection there. Boom. Even when you thought he was about to do something nice and consider somebody else, you find out, no, he was still considering himself. 11 years old. That's who he is. When she said, when he asked her, is there anything that we could do over on the honeymoon to make it better? And Jasmin started expressing her thoughts and saying, no, not really. I think it was okay because, I think things happen for a reason. And he's over here dancing, eating his tacos. And he's like, oh, I didn't hear nothing you said. I was too busy enjoying my food. Again, a selfish Airris. I don't really want to hear what you have to say anyway, Jasmin, because I'm really not open to it. And I'm telling you, people, it has nothing to do with a big booty. It has nothing to do with that at all. He is emotionally a walled off Period. Sure, maybe if a girl walked in with a big booty, he'd sleep with her, but that don't mean she gonna get his heart. That doesn't mean that he's gonna fall in love with her. He's had plenty of big booty women. He didn't fall in love with them. That is not the problem. He over here trying to give Clint advice on how to be more sensitive to women's feelings, and he don't have no sensitivity towards anyone's feelings. Why the heck is he giving a Clint advice? That's like an alcoholic telling another alcoholic, you need to drink less. Get out my face. Airris took her to his house, talking about, well, let me show you my house. This is my workout room. This is my man cave. Airris, your whole life is a man cave. What you talking about? You got one room in the house that's a man cave. Your whole life is a man cave, and that in itself is the problem. You over here talking about you feel like a little boy still waiting on your daddy to come home. Since you was 4, when did your daddy leave you? When he was 4, he died at 11, but he obviously moved away when he was younger. So you've been stunted at age 4. I gave you 11, but maybe I need to roll you on back to age 4. This is both sad and irritating to watch. It really is, because Jasmin don't deserve this. Jasmin didn't think she was marrying an emotionally a 4-year-old, because that's what we got here. We got an emotional 4-year-old banging on the high chair at the dinner table, talking about feed me grapes, feed me lobster, rub my feet, wash my dirty jaws, wipe my booty when it's full of shit. Let me go to the man cave when I want to go to the man cave. Let me work out when I want to work out without you. Boy, get out of here and go straight to the therapist's office. They should have got off that plane and gone to a therapist's office. They don't need to go to this apartment. Not at all. Not at all. Where are the experts? Because Airris needs some experts up in here. Take that necklace off of your father. Take that obituary down. All that, because you need to grow up. You need to get past this death of your father and move on and stop being emotionally stunted 4-year-old. I'm done with Airris. I'm so irritated, y'all. I'm irritated. Now we're moving on to Chris and Nicole, and Nicole to the rescue. I told you guys these two were gonna figure out how to out-love each other, out-give to each other. They're two givers. And boy, did you see it play out in this episode. Again, if you ever want to look like what it looks like to be with two people who are two givers, just keep watching Nicole and Chris, and the anguish that Chris had over this dog situation, I think even more exemplified what happens with givers. When Chris was crying, I was like, did somebody die? What happened? And then we find out that the whole thing is because they can't have 3 dogs at this apartment. I told you, people with these dogs, every landlord doesn't want you in their apartment with 3 dogs. They really don't. Do you guys know how much insurance goes up to have people in the apartments with dogs, all different types of breeds of dog, and 3 dogs? It really is a lot more expensive. In fact, some apartment buildings won't even insure apartment owners. I'm telling you, I know what I'm talking about here. So then when you bring in 3, everybody thinks about, it's just a bad landlord. No, why can't you guys do something different? 3 dogs, 1, okay, but 3 dogs, 2 dogs, you having 2 dogs? It's really too hard to pair up with people when you're bringing so much stuff in the relationship. You're making it hard. And we find out that Chris's dogs have separation anxiety, which means they're bad. We see in the clip the dog is humping the pillows on the couch. His dogs are bad, which brings up another problem. What happened to Chris, and the reason why he was boohooing so much, is because, remember, he's a giver. And so when he was faced with this problem of 2 dogs, and we can't bring but 2 dogs, he realized in his own giving nature that, dang, this is what he's thinking. I'm going to have to give up my dogs. He was crying as if he was going to have to give up his dogs, and he was beside himself. He was beside himself. But here's the thing about a giver. A giver never thinks about what sacrifice they can ask of another person. They only think about what sacrifice they can make. And when the situation came with the dogs, he didn't even think about the solution that later on that Nicole comes up with, or even a variation of any other thing. All he could think about was, I'm going to have to give something in order to keep this marriage. And it was tearing him apart. tearing him apart because he's not used to having a partner. He's not used to having a thought partner. He's not used to having someone that comes along and says, you know what? You don't have to carry the entire burden. I'm here with you as well. I can give and you can give, and we can both make a sacrifice in some sort of kind of way so that you're not carrying the entire burden. He's not used to that. He's used to always the one giving 100%, making 100% of the sacrifices. And the thought of having to do that here with these bad dogs that he's got, he was beside himself. But he's with another giver. He's with Nicole. And guess what? When she saw this moment to come in and rescue her man, she put that cape on. She flew up in there. She got down on her knees and she was like, oh, absolutely not. This is where I thrive. This is where I thrive in coming up with solutions that I can give to you. And immediately she started thinking about, how can I give to my husband? That's what she said. This is a much different situation than last year with homegirl. Who was her name? I forgot her name. Oh, the crying man and the other girl. Justin and Alexis. That's their name. Justin and Alexis. Where Justin had to make 100% of the sacrifice because he was dealing with a woman who was selfish. And that was Alexis. Two different people. So here, some people might say, well, you know what? It seems as if that Nicole made out a sacrifice. And not necessarily, because what they did was they took in all the information and they made the best decision for the couple. First of all, we know that his dogs are bad, which means not too many people can keep them. Like he said, they go through separation anxiety, which means they tear up the house when he's gone, which means nobody can keep those dogs. So, and then we also know that he hasn't had a family in town. So in the moment, Nicole actually had more resources in that situation. She had more options than he did. And what she did was she offered her options. She said, I couldn't go all the way with having my dog shipped to Florida. That's what what's his name did when he had to have his dog shipped all the way to Colorado. She said, I can't go that far. She says, but I am willing to have my dog stay at my apartment. My father come down and we swap the dogs out back and forth. You know what? That was a compromise. She gave up some, and he's also going to give up some because he's probably going to have to swap his dogs as well. And once Chris saw that in action, I tell you, I know he fell more in love with her. When he realized, wow, I'm not alone. It doesn't always have to be on me. I don't always have to make all the sacrifices because I'm with another woman or another person who's going to be willing to sacrifice just as much as I am to make this relationship work. He fell more in love with this woman. Let me tell you, I won't be surprised if pretty soon he's telling that girl, I love you. I'm telling you, that was a big thing that she did. And I bet it's going to make him fall even in love with him more. But I told y'all, these two were going to fight for who can outgive each other. And I'm going to give a point this week to Nicole. Last week I was giving all the points to Chris because he was having all the sad stories. But this week, Nicole, she gets the cape. She gets the hero cape this week. She wins. Ding, 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 ding. But it's okay because unlike Airris and Jasmin, where Airris is the one always receiving and Jasmin is the one always giving, Nicole can rest assured that even though she gave in this moment, maybe something a little bit more, she's going to get it back from him because he is a giver as well. She doesn't have to worry that she's going to be giving, making all the sacrifices, and it's not going to come back to her because it will come back to her because he's a giver and he's already demonstrated that. See, people don't mind sacrificing for people when you know that person has sacrificed for you. Okay. But when you're sacrificing for a person who you know that doesn't want to do shit for you, that's a whole nother feeling. And people with these dogs, let me tell you, I love dogs. I love dogs. My last dog, I had to put her to sleep because her hip went out so bad. She couldn't even get up. She couldn't use the bathroom. She couldn't get up and down the stairs. I had to put her to sleep. And after I had that dog, you know, I didn't get another one because it tore me up to lose her. I was just a fit to be tied for a year and a half or 2 years over losing my dog. And let me tell you, a lot of people, dogs, you get so attached to them, but a lot of people, dogs and pets are keeping you away from finding a connection and love with a human. I'm telling you, people, it really is. If you're a single person, you got to be very careful about connecting with a dog or a pet so much, because what it can make you do is become so dependent on that dog or that animal that then you're not willing to make those sacrifices for a human being. And as much as Nicole loves her dog, I was happy to see that she was able to make a sacrifice for a person, a human being, because dogs, people, they really only live about 12 or 13 years. But if you're trying to have an enduring marriage that's going to last 30 years or 40 years or 50 years or 60 years, you got to ask yourself, are you not willing to give up a little bit of something for something a little bit more long lasting and enduring, something that might produce kids? You got to remember, you guys are giving up relationships over dogs, and you're giving up the possibility of having a relationship with a human and then going on to have kids that could be even a more meaningful relationship. I know people are mad at me for giving you this speech, but on Married at First Sight, we have seen this too often, how pets and dogs have broken up relationships before they even got started. And here is an example of two givers who have decided, we're not going to let these pets, these dogs, break us up before we even get started. But I already know they're going to have some challenges with 3 dogs running around the house. They better get a big house with a big yard. They better be happy that landlord didn't allow them to bring 3 dogs in that apartment, because I'm telling you, it probably would have been unbearable, especially now that we know that I'm telling you, I believe that Chris's dogs got behavioral problems. They got behavioral problems, and we definitely don't want no repeats of the Maya and the what was the other girl's dog's name? We don't want any repeats of that whatsoever. Hopefully, when they do introduce their dogs, they do it differently. They do it better than all these other people in the past, Married at First Sight, where they didn't introduce their dogs correctly. But I'm confident that these two are not going to let dogs break them up. I'm confident of that right now. You know, Clint was over here talking about, I don't know if it's going to work out because Chris seems more sensitive and Nicole is from New York. I do agree with that. I believe he is more sensitive. I do believe she's got more of that tough Italian FBI stuff she says from. But let me tell you what I like about Nicole right now. Nicole isn't using her power for evil. She absolutely probably is more emotionally strong than Chris, but right now she hasn't shown any signs of using her emotional power for evil, as opposed to Clint, that when he realizes he has emotional power or some type of a superior position, he uses it for evil and he can put a person down. See, it's nothing wrong with being stronger than another person as long as you don't use it for evil and to tear down the other person. Sometimes you can use your strength to hold up another person, and that's what Nicole did. Nicole used her strength to hold up her husband in this situation, and that was for the good. A lot of people use their strength to tear other people down. I haven't seen any signs of Nicole using her power over Chris to tear him down. She talks a lot, she runs at the mouth a lot, but I haven't seen her use any words to tear him down yet. And until I see her do that, I'm going to say that she's using it for the good. She's using her power for the good. She's using her power to save. She's using her power to edify. She's using her power to lift someone up, and she isn't using it to tear them down. And I'm happy for it. And now we're moving on to Shaq and Kirsten, and what I'm going to call them, boring AF, boring AF. Kirsten over here telling Shaq, we need the more serious side of you, no more of the comical side of you, because I want to get to know the serious side of you. No, we don't. We actually do need some comedy. We do need some jokes, because these two are boring AF. And let me tell you, I think the boring one is Kirsten. Kirsten is boring. I'm telling you, she has no depth to her conversation. I don't even know what's in between this brain here. Let's go back over the conversation for the whole last week, y'all. I'm telling you, I could care less that she got 2 degrees, a bachelor and a master's degrees. I really could care less. I could care less that she likes to dance. I'm telling you, there's some things are missing in her head because she doesn't have a deep thinking. She's not a deep thinker. I don't know how she's going to make it with an intellectual or PhD man, because she is not going to intellectually stimulate him at all. He better hope that her good looks can hold him for 30 years, because she ain't going to have nothing to talk about. Let's go back over the episode. If y'all don't believe me, and tell me, what does Kirsten talk about that's on some high level of conversation? Let's look at it. I'm going to look at my notes. First of all, she rated him a 7, or the marriage a 7. She talked about what he needs to do, stop being comical. But once again, we didn't hear nothing about what she needs to do. I guess she doesn't think she needs to do anything. That's a problem because she needs to do a lot, actually. One of their conversations was about how messy Shaq was in the hotel room, and hopefully he's not a messy at home. That was conversation number one. Nothing past a fourth grade level. And then when they finally get to the apartment, she talks about, ooh, the cabanas are so nice by the pool at our new apartment. We need to have a pool party. Fourth grade level. She tells him, ooh, her closet is messy. A fourth grade level. She starts talking about washing and cleaning and mopping. Do you want to do those things? A fourth grade level. She starts talking about washing his clothes, and she says, oh, do you like fabric softener in your washing? Do you like fabric softener in your washing your clothes? Fourth grade level. And finally, before they get ready to go to bed, and he gives her a kiss on the forehead, she says, ooh, I like this place. It's much better than I expected. Fourth grade level. Everyone else has a higher level, deeper conversations. Every other couple on here has had a conversation with some meat to it. And I don't want to hear nothing about the reason she's not having any deeper conversations is because she's not attracted to him. A bullshit. I'm calling bullshit on that because I have a deeper conversation with you all on this YouTube channel and we ain't sleeping together. Why is it a requirement to have a deeper conversation? You got to be sexually attracted or physically attracted to a person. I'm telling you, she's an airhead. She's arm candy. Superficial. After you've met Kirsten, she's beautiful. After you take her out to dinner, after you take her to a few events, after you sleep with her and have a good time, what is left? What is left? She is one of those women that men say looks aren't enough. Looks draw them in. All this stuff draws them in. But in the end, it's not enough. Just like she said, these boyfriends that she gets with them, it doesn't work out. 4 years, he doesn't want to marry her because she's boring and she has nothing to talk about but laundry, messy closets, and having cabana pool parties. Bye, Kirsten. Bye. Now we're moving on to Mack and Dom, and I'm calling this The Liar Meets the Old Soul. Y'all, we finally figured out where the old soul comes into play with Dom, and the old soul equals a nagging old wife. I finally figured out. I was been wondering this whole season. I don't know how she got the tagline of the old soul because there's nothing about a Dom that's old soul to me. And this week I finally saw the old soul. She sounds like an old nagging wife, about 45, 50, 55 years old. And guess who that sounds like? Her mama. That's who Dom sounds like. Dom sounds like her mama. No wonder they thought she was an old soul because an old woman filled out the application. Now, I know her mama ain't old, but that's what I'm saying. An older woman filled out the application and put those words down. And that's why they thought she was old soul. But now we look at her and let me tell you, Dom is a nag. She's a nag. I'm not saying some of the things that she says about Mack isn't true. Because I already told you from the beginning that Mack is a liar. He doesn't present who he really is. That's not the problem. The problem is she's a nag about it. She is a nag and she thinks her own stuff don't stink. She thinks she's a little Miss Perfect. So all she does is sit around like an old nagging wife in the house and point out everything the man does wrong. Now, sometimes them nagging wives be right. He is doing all those things wrong. But the nagging wife loves to point it out, and that's who Dom is. Have we heard one thing from Dom about what she needs to work on? No. She spends all her time nagging on all the stuff about Mack. I don't like her either. She over here mad at who Mack is, that he's not adventurous like her. She need to be mad at her mama. Because her mama's the one that filled out that application. And her mama probably put her down as being a girl who maybe is not as who she is, because that's who her mama sees her as. Her mama don't even see her own daughter right. That's what I'm realizing. And I'm also realizing that Dom doesn't realize the things that she needs to work on. She loves to point the finger. Even later on this episode, she starts talking about Mack, talking about she's used to men who have their own apartments and who have their own houses, own their own homes, and have their stuff together. But did she just tell me she's used to dealing with F-boys? This tells me she's a nag. She loves to point out negative stuff in people. I know why men are messing over Dom. She's a nag. She may be good to sleep with. She may be good to roll around in the bed, but no one wants to be around anyone who all they do all day is point out your flaws. I don't care if you are a person with a lot of flaws, because Mack got a lot of them. Nobody wants to be around a person who points them out all the time, and that's who Dom is. She loves to point them out. Mack definitely got himself in this trouble. That's why I don't have too much empathy for him, because like I said before, he moved here for this show. He absolutely moved here for this show. He applied for this show and then moved to Nashville so he could be eligible to be on the show, and that's what he did. And Dom, in her old mindset, is peeping it out, and she's realizing it. She's realizing exactly what he did. He moved here to be on this show. When Mack was over here being so self-deprecating, talking about he's giving the relationship a 7.5, talking about all the things he need to work on. And then when it was her time, she says, oh, good thing I worked with those 12-year-olds last year and coached 12-year-olds. That's so nasty. One thing about Mack is he absolutely is being self-deprecating. He actually puts himself down a lot, which I tell you, that's part of his whole, you pretend who you're not, and then next thing you know, you got to defend who you really are. That's the problem. When you show up and try to pretend you're one person, now you got to defend yourself on why you're not that person. That's Mack. He doesn't come to situations and places authentically. That's why I call him a liar. His stories don't add up because it's not who he really is. And now here he is with an old, nagging wife like Dom, who's going to point out every problem that he has. Hey, y'all, there you go. That's what you get. Mack is over here talking about, thanks for putting up with me. Thanks for doing all this. Thanks. And Dom comes back and says, yeah, because I don't want to be your coach. I don't want to always have to be pushing you. Girl, you really thinking too much of yourself. She right over here with Gina. Between Gina, Dom, Airris, and who's the other one? Kirsten. They all think very highly of themselves. They somehow think that they're the superior ones in the relationship, and they're really not. They're really not. Dom is not that much better than Mack. I might be calling Mack a liar, but Dom is not that much better at all, to be honest with you. She is a nagging old wife, old soul, old nagging wife. She's like, I want the things you do to be in you, not you doing it just for me. Well, what do you do for him, Dom? I haven't heard you one time say, let's do something you want to do, Mack. You keep talking about you got to keep pushing him to do things you want to do. Well, why don't you do something for him? Nope, you can't do it. Like I said, she's an old nagging wife. She's just here to point out things. She ain't here to come up with no ideas on how she can do something different. She's just here to point the fingers and tell you what you need to do different. That's what I'm saying. Now you know why she's been single. And then what she does is she's been going back to her mama, telling her mama all the things the men do wrong and never talking about the stuff that she does. Mama, here's your daughter on the screen. I hope you see it. She talking about, I feel like I always have to be supportive of you, Mack, and there's no room for me. What are you talking about? There's no room for you. Everything is about you. All you do is point out what you don't like about him and how he's doing things for you, but you don't want him doing things for you. Everything is about you. You want everything your way. Exactly what Mack says. He says, what are you talking about? You haven't been supportive of me or accommodating the things I want to do. We've been doing everything your way. That's why I'm out of whack. She somehow has turned this around to be about she's bending over backwards for him. How could you be bending over backwards for him when you just said that he's doing a bunch of things for you, even though he doesn't really want to do it? Girl, get out of here. She was calling him a complainer last week. She's the complainer. And the only reason she wasn't complaining because he was doing everything that she wanted. He was complaining and now she complaining. She's a complainer just like he is. If things ain't going the way she wants it to go, she complains, because she complained this whole episode. Every minute thing that came out of her mouth was a complaint. Let's be honest. And let me tell you, Dom is insecure too. And let me tell you what her triggers are. Dom is insecure that she's going to get left by Mack. That's what her insecurity is. She is looking at him and she's talking about she's afraid she's going to get left by Mack. Because when you start to hone in what she talks about with him and all these different scenarios is about her own insecurities and a fear of abandonment. That's what she's talking about. Because she actually starts talking about, I want you to be able to do things. I I don't like a person who complains. That's what she was talking about last week. And she says, I want you to do them because you want to do them and not just doing them for me. And what she's alluding to is if you're not doing them for yourself, then you may stop doing them. And that's not what she wants. That's what she's talking about. If you're only doing them for me and not for yourself, you may stop doing them. And then that means you might leave me or you may not want to be with me. I understand where her insecurities are coming from. When he starts talking about things, he doesn't really want to do this. He doesn't want to really be here. What she's also hearing is you may not possibly even want to be with me as well. You may want to abandon this process. That's what she's talking about. Even when she was going back to his house and she saw where he lived and she figured out that he moved here just for the show, she says, oh, you don't seem stable. You may want to leave Nashville, and I don't want to leave Nashville. What she's talking about, she doesn't have a safety and security. It's about her safety and security, which is okay, but it's coming off in the wrong type of way. She doesn't know how to verbally express what her real emotion is, and it's coming off as complaining and nitpicking and nagging. Even when she comes in and she says, oh, I can't really judge you by your place because none of this stuff is yours. Well, why should you be judging anyway? Like I said, she's here to evaluate. She's here to judge. She's here to complain. She's here to nitpick. That's what she's here for. And guess what? Mack is an easy target because he's got a lot of stuff to nitpick on. But like I said with Airris and Airris's video, this ain't just because of who she's married to. This is who Dom is. She's a nitpicker. She's a nagger. She wants things her way. You can tell. I can absolutely tell that she is a spoiled brat and she wants things her way because she isn't a type of person where she also talks about things she needs to work on or what she needs to improve on. Not once have we heard too much about it. She presents herself in this glowing fashion. In fact, she had the audacity to say that everything that he's trying to get better in, I'm really good at that stuff. I embody it all. Way to pat yourself on the back, girl. Way to pat yourself on the back. Even when he gets up in the morning, she says, oh, did you notice when you get up in the morning, I got to put the pillow over my head? Another complaint, Dominic. Another complaint, Dom. Another complaint about the way he walks in the morning. Like I tell you, she keeps it rolling. She keeps the complaints rolling. She says, you never signed a lease with no one. You never lived with anyone. What's wrong with that if he never signed a lease or lived with no one? Why are you about to nitpick on that too? I'm telling you, she finds any and everything to nitpick on and put this man down. But you know, he started off the whole relationship a lie. He started off the whole relationship with a lie. And guess what? You get what you get when you start off your relationship with a lie. And that's what Mack did. He started off this whole relationship with a lie. And now she is ripping him apart. He said, well, I didn't want to get no apartment when I moved down here because it was a quick transition. Oh, we know it was a quick transition because once you put in that application, they were like, we need your Nashville address. So he had to move with a quickness and move down here real fast in his U-Haul. So she was like, oh, well, you didn't want to get no apartment or anything like that, but you was ready to jump into a marriage. You wasn't ready to jump into an apartment, but you ready to jump into marriage. This coming from the girl whose mama filled out her whole application. Like I said, sometimes naggers may have a point, but they don't see they stuff. She's nagging on him, and she had a whole mama fill out her application. Girl, at least he filled his application out. He might have lied, but at least he came up with his own lies. Your mama came up with your lies. She said she's nervous because he doesn't have any ties to Nashville. He might just want to pick up and leave, and she doesn't want to leave Nashville. We know you ain't leaving that mama. We know you're not leaving that mama. And when you was at the wedding, that mama of Max got you scared because she said, well, what happens if he wants to move back to Michigan? And that scared you. The thought of leaving your mama, you were like, oh, no. So now you really scared and you going to nitpick this man to death. Dom is so busy being an investigator on him and nitpicking on everything. She's not even looking at herself. She needs some growth. She ain't ready for marriage either because she's real good at pointing fingers, but she's not good at looking at what's wrong with her as well. She got this RBF face too, arresting bitch face. Mack's an easy target because like I said, he was a liar coming onto this show, the way he presented. But you know what? Dom is as much of a liar too because she been lying to her mama. And when her mama filled out that application, she put all the wrong stuff down about her daughter. So guess what? You two liars got paired to each other. Two people misrepresenting themselves got paired with each other. So deal with it. We already know they ain't gonna make it because she's gonna be walking out the apartment next week. So who cares? And now we're moving on to Gina and Clint. And Clint keeps telling Gina, sorry but not sorry, but she don't get it. Clint is saying, sorry, but not sorry. Yeah, I said it. I said what I said. I'm not taking it back. Sorry it hurts your feelings, but it's how I really feel. You know, was on Clint's side because you know what Gina asked for. Gina was the one who started it. So guess what? Sorry that you started the fight. Sorry you took the first blow and then you got knocked out by Clint. But this doesn't erase who Clint is. I already know who Clint is. We knew who Clint was from the very beginning. And he is crass. He can be rude. And guess what? These last couple of episodes, he proved it with Gina. Now, Gina really does need to let it go. You lost the fight. Let it go. Let it go. Because what Clint has keep telling you is, I'm sorry, but not sorry. I said what I said. He said, I apologize as much as I can apologize. Sorry is not the exact apology you want or you think you deserve, but it's the one that I'm giving, and you need to accept it because you were the one that threw the first blow. So you need to accept what I'm giving you and keep it moving with your size 26 waist. Keep it moving, Gina. Keep it moving and let it go. Every time Clint goes over to someone and starts talking about what did he do wrong, did he not do wrong, he puts his foot in his mouth. You know what? Clint really just needs to say what we all know. Yeah, I meant it to be mean. I meant it to get back at her for calling me a bunch of names. Was it wrong? It was wrong, but I did what I did because I was mad and I was angry and she got what she got. That's it. Move on. Stop trying to pretend like, oh, you didn't know and it was an honest mistake. No, it was intentional. It was intentional and I'm okay with it. I'm okay that you intentionally slapped her back because she slapped you. But don't be sitting here lying to us, Clint. We know who you are and we know why you did it. Let's just move on. Let's move on, people. And I don't know why he was trying to go and get advice from Airris about how to look at a situation, how to care for another person's feelings, because Airris doesn't care about anyone's feelings but his own. So he's the last person you need to be getting some advice from. The last person. I mean, Gina, you should take what he gave you. He told you, he apologized. Even you said he apologized right away, said he was sorry. He called you attractive. He said all these things to you. So it should be enough for you, Gina. It should be enough because you over here talking about how he's a liar and all. You a lie. Gina, you lying to us every day with that body, with the lip injections, the size 26 waist. Girl, please get over it. Get over it. You both rated each other a 5, a 5.5. You know, at least you was honest. It's probably not even a 5. It's probably a 3. But hey, so what? Okay. You both rate each other a 5 or a 5.5. Maybe you guys can start over, but maybe not. At least Clint is trying to say he's trying to reflect and have some realization. He's trying to grow from this experience. Gina's still sitting over here playing the victim as if she did nothing wrong. She over here flipping the whole script, talking about he's the only one that needs to grow and be different. And Gina over here still talking about how her teeth are white. This girl. Clint is full of himself. They even said on the after party that it took him 45 minutes to do that apology that wasn't a real apology. They said he had the mic for 45 minutes. People was getting tired of listening to him. They was getting really tired of listening to him. So now they can go on back to Tennessee. Clint can go back with his diarrhea. He got diarrhea in the butt and diarrhea of the mouth. He got it both. He got it on both ends. He was right. When he said it's coming out of both ends of his body, it's right. Diarrhea out the butt and diarrhea out the mouth. He can't control either one. Honestly, I kind of feel that if Gina had never said those things about being ginger and his looks, he probably would have never even mentioned her body size. I really do believe that now because I think Clint really did want to try to make this marriage work. I think he did. I think if Gina had nitpicked on him so early on and went for the jugular, he might not have even gone there on his own. That's what I'm thinking. But she brought out the beast in him. She brought out the beast and she tried to put him back in the closet and she couldn't. She tried to stuff him back in the closet and it was too late. We'll see if these two can recover from it, but I don't think they can. I really don't think they can just because of who they are. Clint not going to be able to hold his tongue. And Gina, she is really sensitive when it comes to things about her looks and things about anything about her. She's another one of these people who think more highly of herself than she really is. She elevates herself. So time you tell her a little bit of truth, she's going to be offended. But like I said in these other videos, there's a lot of people on here thinking way more highly of themselves than they need to be. And all of them going to have a little bit of humble pie. Humble pie. That's it, y'all. Watch my other videos. Talk to you later. Bye.